I sat in that cramped room with the flickering light above and watched him speak the words like he was placing an order. He leaned back slightly, casual, almost bored, as if what he was saying didn't carry the weight of someone's livelihood. "We're letting you go. Found someone who will handle your role for half of what we pay you. Economics, you understand." Wade had always spoken like that, delivering something sharp and then smoothing it over with a grin, as if the smile erased the damage. He wore it now, the same crooked smirk he used when he asked me to stay late, when something broke and he needed it fixed immediately, when he wanted me to explain for the third time that month why products were arranged the way they were. 9 years. That's how long I'd been there. 9 years of walking into warehouses that once looked like disasters and turning them into something that actually functioned. When I started, nothing made sense. Inventory was dumped wherever there was space, summer merchandise buried under winter stock in the middle of July, shipments mislabeled, counts off by thousands. Suppliers were threatening to walk because orders were wrong more often than they were right. Nobody wanted the inventory position because it looked like a dead end, an endless mess with no thanks at the end of it. I took it because I didn't have the luxury of pride. I was a single mom with 2 kids and bills that arrived on time whether I was ready or not. Those first 6 months, I stayed late nearly every night, sometimes until midnight, learning every product we carried, where it came from, how fast it moved, which suppliers could be trusted and which ones needed constant follow-up. I learned which items couldn't be stored together, which needed temperature control. I sat in that cramped room with the flickering light above and watched him speak the words like he was placing an order. He leaned back slightly, casual, almost bored, as if what he was saying didn't carry the weight of someone's livelihood. "We're letting you go. Found someone who will handle your role for half of what we pay you. Economics, you understand." Wade had always spoken like that, delivering something sharp and then smoothing it over with a grin, as if the smile erased the damage. He wore it now, the same crooked smirk he used when he asked me to stay late, when something broke and he needed it fixed immediately, when he wanted me to explain for the third time that month why products were arranged the way they were. 9 years. That's how long I'd been there. 9 years of walking into warehouses that once looked like disasters and turning them into something that actually functioned. When I started, nothing made sense. Inventory was dumped wherever there was space, summer merchandise buried under winter stock in the middle of July, shipments mislabeled, counts off by thousands. Suppliers were threatening to walk because orders were wrong more often than they were right. Nobody wanted the inventory position because it looked like a dead end, an endless mess with no thanks at the end of it. I took it because I didn't have the luxury of pride. I was a single mom with 2 kids and bills that arrived on time whether I was ready or not. Those first 6 months, I stayed late nearly every night, sometimes until midnight, learning every product we carried, where it came from, how fast it moved, which suppliers could be trusted and which ones needed constant follow-up. I learned which items couldn't be stored together, which needed temperature control, which buyers placed massive seasonal orders that required advanced planning. I built spreadsheets that weren't pretty but worked. I color-coded warehouse zones. I designed a rotation system that actually matched reality instead of theory. I talked suppliers down from canceling contracts and rebuilt trust one call at a time. It took 2 full years before the chaos settled into something steady. After that, things ran smoothly. Product flowed, numbers lined up, complaints stopped. The old director used to joke that I made it look easy. What he didn't see was how much thinking went into making it look that way. Then Wade arrived 2 years ago, transferred in from another location, handed the division by corporate. He had a degree, buzzwords for every meeting, and no interest in learning how anything actually worked. He never asked me about the system, never wanted to understand the mechanics. He wanted summaries, charts, numbers he could present upstairs. Get me last quarter's figures, break it down by category, make it clean so I can present it. I did it every time because that was the job. And Wade walked around like the work happened on its own, telling people the inventory basically ran itself. Very simple setup. It wasn't simple. It was 9 years of experience compressed into routines that only looked simple because I'd refined them to that point. My name is Darby. I'm 41. I've been working since I was 16. I know what work is supposed to be. You show up, you solve problems, you take responsibility. This job mattered to me, not because I loved warehouses, but because I'd built something reliable. Suppliers knew my name. When something went wrong, I knew how to fix it. My kids had stability because of that job. Wade didn't see any of that. He saw a line on a budget. "We've already hired your replacement," he said, still smiling. "Starts Monday. You've got until the end of the day to clear out your things and transition your duties." "Transition to who?" I asked. "You said he starts Monday. Today's Thursday." "Write down what he needs to know. Shouldn't take long. You've always said the system is straightforward." "I never said that. He did." But arguing wouldn't change anything. He'd already decided. This meeting was just theater. "Fine," I said. His smile slipped, just for a second. I went back to my workspace, not an office, just a chair and shelves lined with binders full of supplier contacts, schedules, specifications, 9 years of information that lived mostly in my head. I pulled out a notebook and started writing anyway. Supplier names, numbers, who needed 3 weeks' notice, who ran late, which products required special handling, when to shift seasonal stock, how to read the reports I'd built. 4 pages in, it hit me how pointless it was. None of it would make sense without context, without watching it run, without making mistakes and learning why they mattered. Wade walked by once and asked how it was going. "It's coming," I said. He nodded and kept moving. No one else said much. A few looks, a few quiet glances. Everyone understood and everyone stayed out of it. I didn't blame them. By mid-afternoon, I stopped writing. I packed my personal things into a box, a mug my daughter made in art class years ago, a sweater for cold warehouse mornings, photos, a plant that somehow survived with almost no light. That was it. I thought about Hugh, the regional director. We'd known each other for years, ever since I'd spoken up for his nephew when everyone else wanted to make an example of a scared 19-year-old. After that, Hugh checked in. Breakfast every few months, real conversations. We were supposed to meet today at 4. I checked the clock. 3:15. I decided to go home and explain later. I carried the box through the building, past familiar walls and routines, and left without ceremony. The drive home was the same route I'd taken thousands of times. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. Just hollow.
At home, I set the box down, made tea, sat on the couch. My phone rang. Hugh. I let it ring twice before answering. "Where are you?" he asked. "We have the review in 30 minutes. Your boss says you quit." "I didn't quit," I said. "Wade fired me this morning." Silence. "Fired you?" "Told me they hired someone cheaper." Another pause. "Stay by your phone," he said, and hung up. Minutes later, my phone rang again. HR. Questions, dates, documentation. I answered calmly, then typing on the other end of the line. More typing, longer this time. "Okay, thank you. Someone will contact you shortly." She hung up. I felt something then. Not hope exactly, but something. An hour later, Wade called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Darby." His voice sounded different, tight, like he was forcing the words out. "There's been a misunderstanding. We need you back immediately." I said nothing. "There was a communication issue with HR. Your termination wasn't properly authorized. We need you to return tomorrow morning." "When? What happened to your better candidate?" I said that fell through. "Look, this was a mistake. We value your contributions. You're essential to operations." Essential? He'd never used that word before. Never used any word that suggested I mattered. "The director wants the inventory reports," Wade continued for the review. "You have all the data. Nobody else can pull it together in time." Nobody else. Because he'd fired the person who knew how. "I'll think about it," I said. "Darby, please, I need an answer now. We have obligations, contracts. The quarterly review is critical for regional planning." "You didn't care about that this morning." "I made an error in judgment. It happens. But we can fix this. Come back. We'll discuss a raise, better benefits." Before I continue further, thank you for listening to my story. I know you could be doing anything else right now, but you're here with me. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to know this story is reaching people everywhere. Now, let me tell you what happened next. I didn't go back that day, or the next. I let Wade sit with his mistake. Hugh called me that evening. I want you to understand what's happening, he said. I didn't fire Wade. I'm not transferring him. I'm doing something else. What? Promoting him, effective immediately. He's personally responsible for all 3 warehouses. Direct oversight, no support staff, no transition period. Every decision goes through him. Every mistake falls on him. And he needs to produce the quarterly reports you usually handle by yourself. I didn't know what to say. He told corporate anyone could do your job, Hugh continued, so now he gets to prove it. He wanted to cut costs? Fine, he can manage the system himself and save your salary. Hugh, that system took me 9 years to build. He doesn't know how it works. I know. He's about to learn that. What about the warehouses, the operations? They'll survive, might get messy for a while, but Wade made a decision that affects my region. He eliminated someone critical without consulting me, without understanding what he was losing. That has consequences. After Hugh hung up, I felt strange. Not happy, exactly, not satisfied, just aware that something had shifted. WED called me 6 more times that night. I didn't answer. The next day, I got a call from someone at the main warehouse. Trent, he worked shipping. Hey, is this Darby? Listen, I know you're not here anymore, but we have a problem. There's a shipment of winter gear that needs to go out today, and nobody knows where it's stored. Your boss is tearing through Zone C, but I'm pretty sure that's summer inventory. It's in Zone A, back corner, yellow labels. Thank you. He's been looking for 2 hours. Trent hung up. 20 minutes later, another call. Different warehouse. Supplier delivery came in wrong. Products they didn't order. Nobody knew who to contact to fix it. I walked them through it. Then another call and another. WED's voice got more desperate each time. Please, everything's chaos. Nothing's where the reports say it should be. Suppliers are calling about missed orders. The replacement you mentioned, he quit, walked out after 4 hours, said the job was nothing like I described. What did you describe? Data entry, simple inventory tracking. I didn't know it was this complex. You made it look easy. That word again, easy. You never asked how it worked, I said. You just wanted it to work. I'm asking now. Come back, name your price. I thought about it, going back, taking the raise, returning to something familiar. But I'd spent 9 years building a system for someone who didn't value it, who thought I was replaceable, who smiled while he fired me. No, I said. Darby, please, the regional review is in 2 days. Hugh is demanding full reports, supplier analyses, zone efficiency breakdowns, product movement tracking. I don't even know what half of that means. You should have learned when you had the chance. I hung up. Over the next week, I watched from a distance as everything unraveled. Friends still working there would text me updates, products getting shipped to wrong locations, seasonal items sitting in zones where suppliers threatening to drop contracts because orders were chaotic. WED was working 16-hour days, trying to fix it. He'd call me at midnight, voice raw from exhaustion, begging for help. I'd answer sometimes, give him small pieces of information, enough to keep things from completely collapsing, not enough to save him. Hugh called once during that week. You doing okay? Yeah, I know this situation isn't ideal, the warehouses are struggling, but Wade needs to understand what he threw away, what you built. Some people only learn through consequences. What if he doesn't figure it out? Then we'll make other arrangements, but that's not your problem anymore. You gave 9 years. You don't owe us anything else. He was right. I didn't. I started applying to other positions, different companies, different industries, places where inventory management mattered, where experience counted for something. 3 weeks after Wade fired me, I got an offer. Smaller company, manufacturing operation. They needed someone to organize their distribution system. Better pay than I'd made before, flexible hours, a boss who asked questions and actually listened to answers. I accepted. Wade called when he found out.
Someone must have told him, "You're really leaving? What am I supposed to do? Figure it out like I did 9 years ago when nobody wanted this job. That's different. You had time to learn. I had time because I took it. Nobody handed me knowledge. I built it. You could have learned any time. You chose not to." He went quiet then. "I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you did. I thought it was just managing lists." "I know. If you come back, I'll do better. I'll learn. I'll support you properly." "Wade, you fired me. You looked me in the face and said you found someone better. You can't unfire that. You can't take back showing me exactly how much I meant to this place. It was a business decision. Everything is a business decision until it affects you personally. Now you're living with yours." I hung up, blocked his number, started my new job the following Monday. I heard later that Wade lasted another month before Hugh finally removed him, not fired, transferred to a smaller location, single warehouse, no direct reports, essentially demoted while keeping his title. They brought in someone new to run the division, someone who understood operations, who spent the first month just learning the system I'd built, talking to suppliers, understanding why things were arranged certain ways. That person called me once. "I'm trying to untangle what's here. Your notes help, but there's so much institutional knowledge that's just gone. How did you keep all this in your head?" 9 years of showing up, I said. 9 years of showing up. 9 years of fixing problems nobody else wanted to touch. 9 years of learning what worked and what didn't. She thanked me, said if I ever wanted to consult, they'd pay well. I told her I'd think about it, but I didn't want to go back. Not even as a consultant. That chapter was done. My new job felt different from day one. The owner, a woman named Bree, walked me through the facility personally, showed me every area, introduced me to every person, asked me what I needed to succeed. "Time," I said. "Time to learn your products, your suppliers, your processes. This won't be instant." "I know," Bree said. "That's why we're hiring you. We need someone who understands. This takes work." It was refreshing, being treated like my knowledge mattered, like experience was valuable instead of expensive. The facility was chaos when I started. Not as bad as my old warehouses had been 9 years ago, but close. Products scattered, no clear organization system, suppliers frustrated by constant ordering mistakes. I'd seen this before. I knew how to fix it. I started the same way I had years earlier, learning every product, talking to everyone who worked there, understanding the flow, where things came from, where they needed to go, what slowed the process down. Took me 3 months to build a working system, color-coded zones, rotation schedules, supplier relationships rebuilt, reports that actually tracked what mattered. Bree checked in regularly, not hovering, just present. "How's it doing? What do you need? Any obstacles I can remove?" That's what good management looked like. Someone who understood that helping employees succeed was how you succeeded. Meanwhile, I heard stories from my old workplace, through friends still there, through industry contacts, through the occasional message from someone who had my number. The new division manager was struggling, not because he was incompetent, but because rebuilding what I'd spent 9 years creating was nearly impossible. The institutional knowledge was gone. The supplier relationships had been damaged during Wade's chaotic month. Trust took years to build and moments to destroy. Products were moving again, orders were getting filled, but it wasn't smooth, it wasn't efficient, it was functional at best. One of my old supplier contacts called me, a guy named Roland. I'd worked with him for 7 years. He provided seasonal merchandise, outdoor equipment, camping gear, holiday decorations. "Your old company keeps messing up orders," he said. "Wrong quantities, wrong timing. I've tried working with their new person, but it's not the same. Any chance you'd consider coming back?" "I'm not going back there, Roland." "What if I move my contract to wherever you are now? Would your new company be interested in seasonal merchandise?" I thought about it, talked to Bree. She was interested. We worked out an arrangement. Roland shifted a portion of his business to us. Then another supplier did the same.
and another. Within 6 months, my new company had picked up 4 major suppliers who'd previously worked with my old employer, not because I asked them to switch, but because they valued reliability. They valued relationships, and those relationships had been with me, not with the company. Hugh called me around that time. "You're stealing our suppliers." "I'm not stealing anyone. They're making business decisions just like Wade did when he fired me." Hugh laughed. Actually laughed. "Fair point. How's the new place treating you?" "Better." "Good. You deserved better than what happened. I'm sorry it took Wade's stupidity for you to find it. You could have stopped him." "I could have, but I would have stayed in a place that didn't value me. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to us is the push we need towards something better." He wasn't wrong. I'd been comfortable at my old job. Not happy, not fulfilled, just comfortable, familiar. I probably would have stayed another 9 years, building systems for people who didn't appreciate them. Getting fired hurt, but it freed me. My kids noticed the difference. Not just the better pay, though that helped, but my mood, my energy. My daughter Riley said it one night at dinner. "You seem lighter, Mom. Lighter like something heavy isn't sitting on you anymore." She was 14, too perceptive for her own good, but she was right. I'd been carrying weight for years. The weight of being undervalued, of working harder to prove I deserved to stay, of making someone else look good while staying invisible myself.
That weight was gone. Now work became something I did instead of something that drained me. I solved problems, built systems, trained new employees properly, had conversations with management where my input mattered. About 8 months after I started my new job, Bree called me into her office. "We're expanding, opening a second facility across town. I want you to oversee inventory for both locations, build the new system from the ground up, train someone to help you manage it." It was a promotion, more responsibility, more money, more recognition. "I'm in," I said. "You don't want to think about it?" "I've been thinking about it since I walked in here. This is exactly what I want to do." Building the second facility system was satisfying in ways I couldn't fully explain, like creating something from nothing, knowing it would work because I understood what made systems work. I hired an assistant, a young guy named Carlos, 23, eager to learn, asked questions constantly, wanted to understand not just what to do, but why. Training him reminded me of training myself 9 years earlier, showing him how products moved, why certain items needed specific storage, how to read supplier patterns, when to anticipate problems before they happened. He absorbed everything, took notes, made mistakes, and learned from them. Within 6 months, he was handling daily operations while I focused on bigger picture planning. That's what succession should look like. Not firing someone and hoping their replacement figures it out, but deliberately building knowledge, passing it on, creating systems that survived beyond one person. My old workplace never called me again after that first conversation with the new division manager. I heard through the grapevine that they'd stabilized. Not great, not back to what it was, but functional enough to keep operating. Wade disappeared from my radar entirely. I didn't ask about him, didn't look him up, didn't care. Some people thought I should feel triumphant, like I'd won something, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like moving forward, like leaving behind something that didn't serve me and finding something that did. One afternoon, about a year after I'd been fired, I was in the new facility checking a shipment when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. "Darby, this is Glenn. I don't know if you remember me. I worked in receiving at your old job, Zone B, warehouse." "I remember. How are you?" "I'm okay. Listen, I'm calling because I'm leaving the company, found something else, and I wanted to thank you before I go." "Thank me?" "You probably don't remember, but 3 years ago, I made a huge mistake. Mixed up 2 shipments, cost the company thousands. I thought I'd be fired. You came and found me in the loading area. I was panicking. You said, 'Mistakes happen. Let's fix it.' You stayed 4 hours after your shift helping me sort it out. You never told anyone it was my fault. You took responsibility in the report." I did remember, vaguely. It had seemed like the right thing to do at the time. Glenn was a good worker. One mistake didn't define him. "You didn't need to call," I said, "but I appreciate it." I needed to because when you got fired, I felt sick. We all did.
You'd helped so many of us over the years, fixed our problems, covered our mistakes, taught us how to do things right, and the company just threw you away like you were nothing. Glenn, let me finish. I wanted you to know that we noticed, we remembered, and I'm not the only one who's left since then. A lot of people have, because if they could do that to you, they could do it to anyone. You showed us how we deserve to be treated, and when they treated you like that, it opened our eyes. After Glenn hung up, I sat in my car for a while thinking about what he'd said. I'd never considered that my firing affected other people, that it sent a message beyond just me losing a job, that it showed everyone else exactly how much loyalty meant to that company. Over the next few months, I heard similar stories, people reaching out, thanking me, telling me they'd moved on to better situations. Some had taken positions at my new company, others had found different paths entirely. It was strange. Being fired had felt like an ending, like failure. But it had actually been a catalyst for me, for others, for change that needed to happen. Anyway, Bree mentioned it once. You know, we've hired 5 people from your old company in the past year. They all say the same thing, that you showed them what good work looked like, that they wanted to work somewhere that valued that. I didn't know what to say to that. You built more than an inventory system at that place, Bree continued. You built a standard. People saw how you worked, how you treated them, and when the company failed to meet that standard, they left. That's leadership, Darby. Whether you meant it to be or not, leadership. I'd never thought of myself that way. I was just someone who showed up and did the work, who helped when people needed help, who tried to do things right. But maybe that was leadership. Not titles or authority, just consistency, integrity, treating people like they mattered.